Ladies and gentlemen, with my changes out the way, we can now get back to our regularly scheduled programming. And by regularly scheduled programming, I mean me talking about upper tier credit cards. Because remember, we got 5 of them that are pretty much well known. And now we're about to talk about the next one on the list, and that would be the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now, the Chase Sapphire Reserve made a lot of changes going back to October 2026 of last year, and they made one change after that we're going to talk about, and all for the sake of them competing with the American Express Platinum Card. So did these changes help them out, or did the changes make them more of a laughingstock than they already are in the credit card game? So let me be more specific. Chase as a bank, number one in terms of popularity, in terms of success, in terms of notoriety in the country, that is. I don't know about the entire globe, but in the country of America, Chase is number one as a bank. And you could say to the general public, they're number one as a credit card company. But to those of us in the credit card game, Chase is a laughingstock these days. Let's be honest. So, is the Chase Sapphire Reserve a joke? Or should we take that card more seriously? Well, let's get on with it. Okay, so like we've done with the American Express Platinum Card, we're not going to compare the Chase Sapphire Reserve to what it used to be to what it is right now. Instead, we're going to look at what it is right now, and we're going to see whether or not these changes are good or bad. And the one thing that I want to get off the bat is that there are some people in Google AI that is calling this a travel card. While it does have some travel perks, this is not a travel card. This is a lifestyle card, similar to the American Express Platinum Card. Although you could say with the reward multipliers, this is more of a lifestyle card than the Platinum Card, because the Platinum Card have rewards that is geared towards traveling, like hotels, flights, and that's basically it. Whereas this card have those things, but more. We'll get into that in a second. But first, let's talk about the current welcome offer. So as it stands, as of me recording this video anyway, you're looking at 125,000 points after spending $6,000 in the first 3 months of you getting that card. And that's a lot of points. I ain't gonna front. That's a lot of points, if I do say so myself. However, it got an annual fee of $795. And originally, it was at $550. They raised that by $245. That's an unusual number to raise an annual fee by. Normally it'd be like 100 or 200, something like that. But this one right here is $245. I don't know what to say about that. Plus, it also costs $195 for each authorized user. So with all that out the way, let's talk about the reward multipliers finally. So you're looking at 8 times the points on all Chase travel sites purchases. You're looking at 4 times the points on flights and hotels booked directly with them. 3 times the points on dining, this is worldwide, and 1 time the points on everything else. Outside of the 8 times the points, so they're trying to outdo the American Express Platinum Card with the reward multipliers, and you could argue that they did. Because remember, while the American Express Platinum Card got 5 times the points on flights that are booked directly with them or on their travel site, here is only 4 times the points. However, you get 5 times the points on hotels booked on the American Express travel site. But here, you get 4 times the points on hotels booked on their travel site or with that hotel directly, which is essentially better, even though it's 1 less point. But then again, you book it with the hotel directly. So there's that. Not to mention, it comes with a dining reward multiplier. 3 times the points on dining, which is something that Chase really loves to do on pretty much all their flagship cards, by the way. I don't understand it, but whatever. It's still better than American Express, which has no dining reward multiplier, even though they have a lot of benefits that is tailored towards dining. Again, explain to me how that makes sense, American Express. Now, let's talk about the benefits or the whole coupon fiasco that they pretty much stole from American Express. You're looking at $300 going towards annual travel credit, and we're going to talk about this one right here. $500 of credit for stays with the edit. So, here's how this works. So, you're going to receive a statement credit of $250 for each prepaid booking with the edit, up to $500 annually. So you're going to get 2 of those statement credits. So originally, by the way, it was one of those statement credits between January and June, and the other one between July and December. But they saw what American Express did with their changes, and they made a change later on to say, okay, instead of it being semi-annually, you're still getting 2 credits, but you can use them whenever you want. So you can do one transaction where you book one night, and then you can immediately turn around and do another transaction and book another night, and boom, you use 2 of those statement credits within minutes. Like, just give us $500 instead of splitting them up by $250. But there's more to this statement credit. In order for this to work, you got to get a 2 nights minimum stay, and purchases that qualify will not earn points. So basically what that means is this: if you're booking a hotel stay with the edit and you're using the statement credit, however that hotel will cost normally, you will not get points for that because you're using credit to pay for that cost. Now, wherever it costs after that, then the points will kick in. But outside of using the credits, you won't get points for that. I don't know what to say about that. Moving on, you're looking at $250 credit towards select Chase travel hotels. Get up to $250 in a statement credit through December 31st of this year on prepaid Chase travel hotel bookings for stay with IHG Hotels and Resorts, Omni Hotels and Resorts, Virgin Hotels, Minor Hotels, and Pan Pacific Hotels and Resorts, which also requires a 2-night minimum stay. And purchases that qualify without earn points as well. Same thing here. You also going to be looking at an IHG One Reward Platinum Elite status. Reserve Travel Designers. Now, in case you're wondering what that is a built-in book, a custom itinerary that unlocks hidden gems and a new experience around the world with a Reserve Travel Designer. This personalized service is valued up to $300 per trip. So, if I gathered that correctly, it's basically a service that creates an itinerary for you. That's pretty much what I got for that. And it's worth up to $300. I can do an itinerary in my sleep. But moving on. And you're also looking at, this is funny right here, $850 in value with the Chase Sapphire Reserve Lounge Network. And this is why I'm laughing at that. First of all, they make it sound like that they're the Centurion Lounge in the case of it's everywhere. It's all throughout the country. And no, it's not. Not every single hotel have that. Granted, not every single hotel have the Centurion Lounge, but that's another story for another day. But the Centurion Lounge, like, kills the competition in terms of the amount of lounges that they have all around the country. It's not even close. Now, Chase is in second, but they are in distant second. So to say, oh, it's worth $850 in value, I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, there's some value when it comes to any lounge, but to try and use that as a reason to say, oh, you're getting this in value if you get the car rabbit. No, that's like an additional benefit. But despite that, if I had to pick out of the 3, the Centurion Lounge, the Chase Sapphire Lounge, and the Capital One lounges and landings, which one is the best? Although I haven't been to all 3, but based on what I've seen and based on what I heard, it's Chase with the Sapphire lounges. That's the best one, to be honest. And you can make a strong case for Capital One lounges to be in second, close second to be exact. Now, I have been in some of those, and those are good. But let's get back on topic. And you're looking at credit towards Global Entry, TSA PreCheck, or Nexus. And by the way, don't use Nexus. That's basically get you from America to Canada and back. You can easily do that with Global Entry or with your passport. So I don't see the value in Nexus, but let's move on. Now let's talk about the benefits in regards to your lifestyle. You're looking at $300 in dining credit on Open Table, which is $150 semi-annually. So the whole January to June and then July to December thing, using them both within those time frames, equal up to $300. And Open Table is similar to Resi, where you go in there, you find places to eat, and you go, use the card to pay for it, and boom, the credit kicks in. That's basically what that is. I heard about Resi, obviously. I never heard about Open Table, so I'm not discrediting Open Table because there may be some restaurants on there that you may go to without relying on Open Table. And whether you rely on Open Table or not, the credit should kick in like that. So if you go to restaurants like that, or you are someone like me who like to explore different places in terms of, going somewhere to eat, going somewhere new, whatever the case may be, you may discover a restaurant that is a part of Open Table. While I'm not going to discredit this credit, no pun intended, outright, but you shouldn't hold this credit to a much higher standard, let's be honest. But let's move on though. $288 in Apple TV and Apple Music subscriptions, $120 in Peloton credit, which is $10 a month, and you get 10 times the points anytime you spend money on Peloton. You're also looking at $300 in StubHub credit, which is $150 semi-annually, so you know the drill at this point. $120 in Lyft credits, which is broken up to $10 per month, and you're gonna get 5 times the points whenever you spend money on Lyft. You're also looking at $300 in DoorDash promos, which is the result of $25 per month. And this is the biggest joke that I have ever seen up to this point when it comes to credit. This is broken down into $5 in restaurants and 2 $10 credits on groceries, retail orders, and more. So that DoorDash promo, that DoorDash credit is trash. That is the most ridiculous thing I had ever seen in my life. So let me get this straight. On paper, $300 in DoorDash promo sound great, but then they break it down to $25 per month, and it's like, okay, well, we can do something with that. But then they broke it down even further to say $5 of that is only for restaurants. Well, the other 20 is split into 10 on groceries, retail orders, and whatever else that isn't dining, by the way. I'm like, what? That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. That is horrible. That is just flat out horrible, but we gotta move on. And $120 on Dash Pass membership, which is okay. Their travel protections, as you see right there, pause if you want to read more about it, is very, very good. And same for their purchase coverage, so pause if you want to see that as well. They also have no foreign transaction fees, access to any of the Sapphire lounges, we already talked about that, but you can bring in 2 complimentary guests, and they talk about point boosts. So, this one we're gonna talk about. Let's check this out. Let's see how this works for us. Your points are worth up to, the key words here are up to, 2 times the points on top book hotels, including the Attic, and flights with select airlines through Chase Travel. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there. So this is not for every single hotel and every single flight that you book on the Chase Travel site. There's certain ones that are gonna get any type of boost, and the maximum amount of boost they can get is up to 2 times the points, but they got their favorites. So for example, Southwest, which is a company that they work with because their credit cards are under Chase, by the way. That would be one. IHG would be another one. And there may be some others, but like if you want to do this with like a Delta flight or a Hilton hotel, anything like that, unless those are, in the Hilton case, really high, expensive places, if that really, then that boost, that point boost would not kick in. For the most part, it would not kick in. So the fact that they trying to promote that, to me, is another joke. And to make matters worse, this is what they got to replace what they had originally. So before the change, if you had the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Inc. Preferred card, which is their business version of the Preferred card, that is, you could have gotten up to 1.25 the points with travel redemption bonuses, and you had the Reserve, that was 1.5 times the points with travel redemption bonuses. Those were really popular. Like, those were really, really popular with a lot of people. And when I was looking at between the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Chase Sapphire Preferred once upon a time, I was going back and forth in terms of which car I wanted to get before the refresh. So now they got rid of that completely. I don't know how I feel about this point boost fiasco. Actually, I do. That's a lie. I do. I don't like it. But let's move on. Plus, if you spend $75,000 each calendar year, you can unlock status and credit with IHG One Rewards with their Diamond Elite status, $250 credit for the shop at Chase, $500 Southwest Airline Chase travel credit, and Southwest Airline A-list status. But you have to spend $75,000 with their card per year, by the way. Not one time and then boom, you're done, or within 1 year and then you're done. This is per calendar year, every single year. And it's like, I don't know anybody who's going to do that, but let's move on. Now with all that said, let's talk about my plans for this card. Basically, would I be getting this card? No, I would not be getting this card because their benefits, I'll be honest, is a joke. There's nothing there that I see that have much value for me. Nothing at all for the most part. Like, there's some stuff that I can take advantage of, but for the most part, there's nothing here that can totally add up to offset that annual fee. There's absolutely positively nothing here. Which brings me to the next question. Do I see myself ever getting this card? Well, if there's a massive sign-up bonus and I'm under Chase 524 rule, because currently I'm over that about like what, 4 credit cards, or if they somehow get rid of it, see my last video if you want to know what I'm talking about in regards to that. If they get rid of the whole Chase 524 rule and there's a massive sign-up bonus, in terms of points, like either close to or exactly 200,000 points, yeah, I may get this card, hang on to it for a year and take advantage of those benefits and then cancel it or downgrade it. But until then, no, I don't see myself getting this card at all. Now, who is this card for? Well, this card is for upper class because of those travel benefits. Those travel benefits are tailored to upper class because we're talking about a lot of stuff that is extremely expensive, and with the whole 2 nights minimum fiasco, yeah, they want you to spend a lot of money in order for that credit to go through. And those lifestyle benefits are kind of random, you know. I don't know a lot of people who use Peloton. I know some people who do, not personally, but some people used to say they use Peloton, but not a lot. Who use StubHub like that? I don't know. And who use Lyft like that? Do Lyft have like a Lyft Eat service where you can go to Lyft to have food delivered, or go to Lyft to order food, you can pick it up? So with the Uber credit that American Express have with their Platinum card and their Gold card, that makes sense because you can either use Uber or Uber Eats. If it's Uber Eats, instead of it having it being delivered to you, which will result in a delivery fee, you can actually pick it up. Order it for Uber Eats, you pick up the food yourself. So if Lyft have something like that, oh, I have no problem with that credit, but I don't recall Lyft having a Lyft Eats or anything similar to Uber Eats. So who use Lyft every month? That's the whole point here. Again, I don't think a lot of people use that. So these credits and benefits are just so random, and in my opinion, I don't think a lot of people are going to be using it. So the final question, where does this card rank amongst the upper tier credit cards? Without question, it's behind the Venture X. It is behind the American Express Platinum card. So this whole copy the blueprint and try to improve on it, they failed at that. They copied it, but they failed at improving it to the point where they try to be better than American Express at it. They failed at that. So yeah, they're behind them too with the Platinum card. Now in terms of them in comparison to the City Strata Elite and the Built Palladium card, in my opinion, they are ahead of the Built Palladium card. I don't know if they're ahead of the City Strata Elite. We're gonna have to look at that card the next time I do a video. So as it stands right now, I got them around that 3rd, 4th place range right there, but I'm sticking with 4th place, but they could potentially move up to 3rd. It depends on how the City Strata Elite looks, which is going to be my next video. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see y'all there.